I don't. Yeah, this one. This one is the front side. Not to eat at all. When your wife was there, verify outdoor, not indoor. Anything indoor is that different. If she's frozen out of salt, want to cook up outside. Yeah, so simple. pilipili.
Then I could see how they prepare. So I was yeah, yeah. Very good. Yeah,
It's a skill. It's a skill.
Yeah.
It's a skill. What skills are that?
No.
After 10 minutes at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
This experience is this. Skill over it. Huh? Was that about fire inspection? Not bad. Hey, is it? Was American. on earth. Whiskey. That word war. Things are crazy.
Gwena alihasi ebiragiro okufuga atalina hali akuweera kandi n'okuba nakora n'obwesimbu kandi atumanye kurungi kandi ekihandiiko okuba kitakulikira amadaala gano kisobola kuba nakuba kitagenderwaho akakirenka ka 13 tonyeze musanju katanyeze musanju haliho ebikoleka omulingo omuntu asobola kuba nagwera sayidi emu kandi nasobola kuba ayina okusanga abayina okwetaaga looni yajja kuyiira omusango gwakoraho kandi haliho kakusanga omuntu aba tetegereze looni ateserwire bateserwire ebintu ebitalina okwekubirwa kandi okubika hali ebintu ebikulu bino ebyakuba azoire looni ebitekerezo byakuba atungiremu nakyo kikuleetera wakulu looni okutereka kuno okutagenderwaho kandi kakuba abaire nasomesebwa nkukwalakora emirimu yeerooni nkukwalakora ekihandiko kyakora nabo banakakaniza okugendera hali abatungire kandi kakuba asangwa aina obukwataine bw'amaani looni aina omulimu gw'amaani gwakora olooni aina obwetaaga kw'ensimbi looni okusasulwa hali ebyakora nakyo kisobola kumuleetera okuba nagwera olubali lumu kandi nansi akakiiko we aina okuba nayitegereza kandi nahondera amadala goona looni nahondera enkola yoona emirimu yaba nakora kandi omubisanika 50 ebyatungire byasangire ali omulimu okutwamu amateeka abakutali kikulu hali hali omulimu gwe kandi kati abagugero balina omusango kisabe omugaso halaali kandi nekyo eryasigayireho okuvuga hali omundu nako kyamaani okuba ebintu ekihandiko bino tukikoleka ebintu ebyabaire nibimugasa ebyabaire bitakumugasa baite kyagambire nti muno okuba nikikolekebwa omu kihandiko kandi atabeho okusiiga ekisisani emirimu ogagenda akoramu omulimu guno nakyo kandi kyagambye nti kyamugaso hali magari nti olekya looni bahandiika ebintu ebitali by'omugaso kandi kino kiriteeka kibonderwa kandi kikirizibwa nti ebihandiko byona ebigezo kandi bihikirire bisobola kukozesebwa mu makubayireti kino kikondeibwe.
If it pleases my Lord, for the record, Ellison Karuhanga, and I will be doing the re-examination. Ms. Hingley, if you could assist this court by just connecting the material that was on display, your report, the
Can I have an HDMI cable, please?
we'll be coming to the documents as we go along, but
Yeah.
Maybe we can start with your report.
My report. Yes.
You were cross-examined extensively by both of my learned friends. And I'll start with a cross-examination of my learned friend. I'll deal very briefly with the cross-examination of my learned friend, Mr. Jonathan Mwaganya. And he spent a lot of time discussing the issue of peer review with you.
Yes.
Whether or not your report was peer reviewed.
Yes.
Could you explain to my Lord whether this report was reviewed, and if not, why not? Was it peer reviewed? If not, why not? And why isn't it set out in your report?
Yes, it was peer reviewed. We do not list every check that the case goes through, and there's no requirement to disclose in a final report of peer review. It is included in the case records or the case notes, which I use.
So, my learned friend wanted to know that on looking at your report, what can show him that your report was peer reviewed?
If required, I have full electronic transparency of the review process. This includes complete tracking of changes in the report and who has made those changes. Equally, in my final report, I specify that the findings have been peer reviewed and independently agreed by another competent practitioner.
Can you just read for us the part that says that and tell us the page?
So this is on page 4 of my statement, underneath examination and results.
Read it, the whole thing.
The whole paragraph states, the review of this case has been carried out by me. A full record of the work that has... Okay. A full record of the work that has been undertaken is contained within the case notes made at the time of the examination, and these are available for inspection if necessary. And then the findings have been peer reviewed and independently agreed by another competent practitioner.
So now it has become necessary. So can you show us the peer review?
Yes, all our case details are stored on a Google Drive. And in this instance, this is one of the peer review. Because of the nature of the case, the contents of the statement are very bespoke. So it's gone through numerous checks. But you can see here, the file is entitled Witness Statement Checked. And throughout, if it lets me show everything here, These are comments by my peer reviewer, Joe Millington. And
Okay.
throughout the document is this, and any subsequent changes are agreed, checked. So this demonstrates the peer review of my statement.
Okay. Okay, so it was reviewed by, it shows who reviewed it. Could you just repeat that again? Sorry. It was reviewed by you.
My colleague, Joe Millington.
Okay, you can go back to the report.
Yes.
And you said that it's available for inspection. Has anyone asked you for that inspection?
No.
You were also asked extensive questions about bias and conflict of interest.
Yes.
Ms. Hingley, do you address those? Do you address those issues in your report at all? And if so, how?
Under the declaration at the end of the report. Sorry. Point 2 states, I confirm that I have not entered.
What page is that? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is page 36,
Page
37.
Page 36 and 37, and point what?
Point 2.
Okay.
It says, I confirm that I have not entered into any arrangement where the amount of payment or my fees is in any way dependent on the outcome of the case. And point 3 is, I know of no conflict of interest of any kind other than any which I have disclosed in my report, and I have signed this declaration.
What about point 1?
Point 1, I understand that my duty is to help the court to achieve the overriding objective by giving independent assistance by way of objective, unbiased opinion on matters within my expertise, both in preparing reports and giving oral evidence. I understand that this duty overrides any obligation to the party by whom I am engaged or the person who has paid or is liable to pay me. I confirm that I have complied with and will continue to comply with that duty.
Okay. Now, Ms. Hingley, you were also asked about extensively about discussions you had with KAA.
Yes.
And about what you called information received.
Yes.
And assisting in the helping in a cross-examination.
Yes.
So my question to you, can you clarify? The insinuation was made that there was something untoward or improper about those communications.
Yes.
Would you clarify to this court if those communications in any way affect your opinion, and whether there was anything, how they affect your final opinion?
No, they did not affect my final opinion at all. It was purely to provide counsel with information of the DNA process and how to robustly cross-examine an expert.
Now, information received, you asked a lot about information received.
Yes.
And you seem to be explaining to my lord that it is, you called it as expected.
Yes.
And something that is commonplace.
Yes.
Can you explain why this is commonplace, how it is expected, and where else we can see it in the context of this case?
So background information, the ultimate goal for an expert witness is to aid the court in the significance of forensic findings. This is by addressing an activity level. This can only be done when the scientific findings are put in the context of case circumstances. So the background information and the information contained within the case notes becomes pertinent to the expert witness being able to guide the court with maximum effect. Irrespective of whether you're instructed by the prosecution or the defence, all scientists will use information, as was apparent in the DNA report of the prosecution scientist.
Can you show us background information in the DNA report?
So on page 10 of the DNA report, under the title Brief Facts of Case, are the background information that the prosecution scientist had.
Maybe you can just read the until years, just so we have an understanding.
So contained within this.
Well, I think the cross-examined on background information.
Examination.
Yes.
My Lord, we ask for background information, but never
My Lord, it came from her answer, and really, I think the point she made is that it is constant, it is common in science. Yes. 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 Yes, much obliged. So please just quickly take us to the first sentence and remove.
No, once they do, we shall have an opportunity for us.
It's because, my Lord, yes, and my Lord, they speak of what I want, because, my Lord, they asked about where she got wounds on both ears. But I'm happy to move. And did come up, my Lord. If you check the ears, Miss Wakoli spent 20 minutes on ears. Okay, much obliged. Much obliged. You can just tell us the page, though.
It's contained on page 10 of the electronic document.
Okay. Okay. Now, my learned friend also took time to take you through a number of photographs that you received.
Yes.
He also gave you the blood pattern report to compare the photographs you received with those in that report. And you said they were not exactly the same, but were similar. Very briefly clarify to my Lord, because my learned friend seems to have suggested the pictures were different. So can you clarify to my Lord if they were different?
I never did so, my Lord. And my Lord, I asked questions, not insinuations.
Much obliged. Much obliged, madam. I'm still asking a question. My learned friend asked you specifically about questions. He gave you the blood pattern report and asked you if the pictures in that report were the same as those that you had been given. Can you clarify what, if anything, there was about those pictures and that report?
They clearly were not the same photographs. However, they are of the same material, and you could demonstrate the bloodstain patterns that were recovered in the photos I were received were those of those taken at the scene.
You said they were the same what?
The same areas, the same staining, the nature of the staining. So it's captured a different picture of the same thing.
It's captured a different picture of the same thing. Now, repeatedly, my learned friends referred you to various provisions of the Forensic Science Regulator Code, the FSR Code, and I want you to explain to my lord. You said at the beginning that this code did not. Okay, let me put it like this: prosecution put a number of questions to you on the FSR code. Can you tell this honorable court what the FSR code provides about defense reviews like the one you have conducted in this case?
The defense reviews are exempt from the code.
Can you show us in the code?
Yes.
Also, what defense reviews are and how they are exempt.
Need to find the relevant. So on page 220 of the code. Oh no, sorry, that's not right.
Look above.
I can't remember which page it's on.
218.
218.
What I remember during your examination in chief.
Oh, there. Okay, sorry. So, it's section 88.2 on page 218.
Okay.
Specifies that this version of the code does not apply to this activity. Therefore, this activity has no requirements set for compliance, including any for accreditation.
Where is that? Sorry?
That's on page 218.
No, show it to us on the screen.
On 88.2. 88.2.1.
Okay.
Included in case review. Oops. Going from 88.3, the sub-activities included in case review.
So that says, what does that read? 88.3.1?
So we're now on 88.3.
Yes.
So these are the sub-activities that the regulator considers as case review, all of which are exempt from the code.
Please read it all from 88.3.1, the following.
So these include review of relevant previous forensic findings in the context of most up-to-date case circumstance information, which may be different to that which was previously available. Relevant findings including physical and digital evidence, should be reviewed. All sample types across disciplines, including the consideration of whether the nature and scope of scientific investigations are appropriate to the case circumstances, whether the examined items were the appropriate ones, the methodology for arriving at the scientific findings and the limitations of applied methods, the continuity and integrity of items, exhibits, the results, quality assurance measures, and critical findings checks to ascertain what can be reliably concluded and what might have been missed, and/or the reliability and validity of previous findings.
We can stop there. Just clarify to my lord if that's what you did in this case.
Yes, that's what I did.
While asking you about the defense review, you constantly referred to your review as a third review.
Yes.
You were asked if you looked at the material, you said it's not required for a third review. If you did this, it's not required for a third review. Explain to my lord, what is a third review and what is a third review in the context of this case?
So within the DNA profiling laboratory, the technical staff would have derived the DNA profile. That would have undergone the first check by the analyst to determine that that sample has met the quality criteria. That profile would then be checked by a second analyst to confirm that it has met the criteria. So all DNA profiles before they leave the laboratory have had 2 checks. So when I come and review, I am the 3rd check of the DNA profile. The final report produced by the laboratory would have been written by 1 scientist and peer reviewed by a second. And so my overall case review is the 2nd complete review of the case findings.
And in the context of this case, you were asked if you had the evidence of Mr. Mubiru. In the context of this case, yours is the 3rd review. Whose is the 2nd review?
I understand that Mr. Mirabu was analyst 1, who was the reviewer of the case before it left the laboratory.
Now, prosecution seems to be criticizing the fact that you did not do the original experiment and that you only did a document review. 2nd and 3rd review, would it be correct that Mr. Mubiru also simply did a document review? Let me rephrase the question, my lord. I'm going to rephrase. So you did a 3rd review. You're explaining to this court what the 3 reviews are. So, which of the reviews, because you've been accused of not doing an analytical work in the lab and simply looking at documents, of all the 3 of you who reviewed, who looked at?
That one is also questionable.
My lord, I think it's relevant. My lord, I think because the criticism before you, my lord, is that the witness has just done a document review. So it's not in the lab. As opposed, and my learned friends were very clear, as opposed to the original analyst who came before this court. So I think it's important to clarify based on the documents if that assertion is true.
Lord, that is what our land colleague seems to understand. He seems to be reading the motive of our questions, but we never raised any direct question in that regard. So you cannot read our motive because our motive would have been different. It is only supposed to conduct re-exam on direct questions that are posed. Which he said no. We never asked her to make any comparison with other experts.
My Lord, I think
Now he is inviting.
maybe I can clarify it from my colleague. Sorry, I think you did ask. My learned friend said, unlike PW8, who did the actual review, you only did a desktop review, a paper review. Maybe you can check. My Lord, let's just check the record. Maybe let me rephrase it. Let me rephrase it in that line. Let me rephrase it in that line. It was put to you that unlike PW8, who looked at the spectrum of all the exhibits, you looked specifically at the pistol, and what you did was only based on documents, unlike PW8. Clarify for this court if that, from a reading of the documents, is a correct position. And if not, why not?
Speculate.
No. Yes. In the lab. Yes. Documents. Yes. So my question is that correct? Can you clarify if that is what happened?
Correct on what?
Can you clarify?
Where?
Can you clarify?
Happening where?
Can you clarify? Okay, let me rephrase the question. Mr. Morgan. Yes, I'm asking about her. I'm asking about her. Yes. Because you see, my Lord, we are dealing with documents. So my question is this. Based on the documents, we much obliged. Mr. Morgan, my Lord is. Yes. Yes.
In a lab.
Yes.
The witness did not look at the samples.
Yes.
She relied on
The documents.
the reports
Yes.
of PWA to arrive at
Yes. So I want her to clarify.
Objection is.
My Lord, you just want that point clarified?
Yes. Can I be understood by Mr. Kavini? What is he finishing when we are objecting? Now, he is asking a question. Invite the witness to tell us whether actually Mubiru dealt with the actual sample.
No,
my lord, that is
No, my Lord. Can you please, my Lord, can I be protected from objections that are not on my questions? My Lord, exactly how you had explained it is how I want the witness to answer it. My Lord had talked about Mr. Mobiru looking at exhibits in the lab, and you just merely doing a document review. Based on the documents that you have, on the documents, not on any speculation, based on the documents that are provided to you, what comment do you have about that?
I can only comment on the DNA report.
Yes.
And that shows that analyst 1 was the reviewer of the case. So in effect, it's done exactly the same as I have.
It's done exactly the same as you have. Thank you. I want to move.
That is exactly our objection. Mr. Kaluhanga cannot be smarter than what the evidence will record.
But she has answered my question, my Lord.
Is that what you are asking?
Yes.
That's what is it. No, I thought that what you wanted to do a parallel between what you did.
Yes.
And the questions that came up in cross-examination indicating that she came up with a report without having had the benefit of analyzing the sample.
Yes.
And my Lord,
Yes.
you can see.
That's the question, my Lord.
Mr. Kaluhanga, can I please?
But maybe before you object, let me clarify.
Audience before you. My Lord, I want courts to understand me. Mr. Kaluhanga is inviting Ms. Lynn to imagine what Mr. Mubiru did. My Lord, what Mr. Mubiru did he explained it in this court on record as to what these terminologies in their lab mean. We also had a second witness from GAM that explained what their terminologies mean according to their lab. Now, Mr. Karuhanga is inviting Miss Lee, who was thousands of miles away from Mr. Mubiru, to tell us that what she did is exactly what Mubiru did, simply because of the use of terminology. Reviewer.
No, my lord, I think that is a, my lord, I ask for protection. I think my land friend is submitting on the answer. My lord,
The question about the difference between what
there were a number of questions.
in relation to what one.
No, my lord, I was asking her about defense review. She said the defense review is the third review. She explained that the second review is signed by the reviewer in the lab. And she has clarified that in this case, the reviewer in the lab is Mr. Mubiru, and that ordinarily that would be a documents review. My learned friend is objecting, actually, to that evidence going on record. That is really what's happening.
No, my lord.
And I want to move on.
No, my lord, he will not move. We have a prayer. We want the extent.
Let me clarify the question again.
No, Mr. Please.
No.
You are the, he is the one going there.
My lord, he shouldn't get angry at me re-examining my witness. I want to. Yes, my lord. My lord, could I be protected? Yes.
I want to make a prayer.
No.
I want to make a prayer, my lord.
No.
In relation on what Mr. Karuhanga has
No, my lord, we're not going to make progress
done.
if we do this.
May I make the prayer, my lord?
My lord, just before he prays, because he made his objection, and I want to clarify this issue by even asking another question and reframing.
My lord, our
Much obliged. Much obliged. Much obliged. Much obliged. Thank you for your.
prayer, my lord. Mr. Karuhanga cannot vulgarize the record. It's too responsible. My lord, we owe allegiance to this court to ensure that what goes on record, my lord, is acceptable and reflects the true position of the evidence given in this court. The extent that he has invited Ms. Lin to speculate
No, I
as
haven't.
what Mubiru did in the lab, vis-a-vis what Mubiru testified on record, my lord. That particular aspect of speculation, my lord, we pray that he expands
And Mr. Mubiru from the report
and explain this.
No.
my lord. Now
Lord, can
he
I-
is inviting him because of the use of terminology for her to
My-
infer what
my lord-
Mubiru did, what is not.
from what Mr. Karuhanga was saying
Can Mr. Moganya sit?
was whether it's true that while Mr. Mubiru had an opportunity to deal with the samples, she only dealt with
To the contrary, no, my lord.
That's what I asked, my lord. So, my lord, the objection, my lord, is to the
My
answer.
lord,
And that is an objection.
Let's look at what the witness has just provided on record. The
Yes.
witness, my lord, has just said
My lord,
that
my lord, can I participate in the hearing? Can I participate without Mr. Moganya?
Yeah, you
Can
are
I- can I-
participating,
can
but
I-
you are rushing.
can I not be
Let's
heckled?
clear this.
Can I not be heckled?
I cannot-
Yes, it is my question. Can I clarify? Let him sit, my lord, and I'll
No,
clarify.
my lord, it's not a question of clarifying.
Let us hear what
My
Mr.
lord, we
Decorum,
can't
please,
expand
decorum.
Off the record. Mr. Karuhanga has
Mr.
insisted
Karuhanga, you are
on
going to-
smuggling
you are
hearsay
going to-
on record. And we can't allow
Yes.
this, my lord.
Let's wait for him to rephrase that.
Oh, my lord, before he rephrases,
No, my lord,
does he accept that what is on record before?
my lord, I haven't even been allowed to speak. I'm literally being cross-examined.
Let us hear how he's rephrasing.
Yes, and my lord, I can't be cross-examined.
We agree he can rephrase 1,000 times. My lord, our concern is what he has deliberately and insistently made the witness put on record, my lord.
My lord.
You rephrase.
So in the meantime, my lord,
Part of
can what has been put on record be expanded?
No, my lord, I haven't even responded to his prayers.
that part of Mr.
Mr.
and what he did in
Yes,
his
my lord.
lab.
Is a
we are
hearsay.
removing it from
No, my lord, I haven't even responded. My lord, a fair hearing. My lord, in fairness, okay, let me rephrase the question. Miss Hingley, you told my lord that yours is a third review
Yes.
and that there's a second review. Ordinarily, in the labs, explain to my lord what is a second review and who signs the second
We
review.
never crossed on that.
My lord, we need to
This
clarify.
is
No, my lord,
examination.
my lord, can I be protected? Mr. Morgan should not be listening to himself.
My lord, we can go on the record and we can be advised where that question arose in the process.
Yes, my lord, he did actually. The witness.
About the second review
Yes, the witness constantly said she was a third reviewer. I am sick. She was never allowed to break into what that meant. I am asking the witness what it meant. Yes, my lord, just type in third reviewer and you will see it all over. And I think it's important to clarify. My lord, and my lord, I'm...
Please, both of you, be seated.
Yes, much obliged. But, my lord, I need to
Let
be
me look
protected.
at the report. Same as a third review.
Yes, yes. Yes, my lord, I wanted to clarify that particular answer. I just wanted to clarify.
So you did a third review.
Yes.
So let her respond to what you wanted to ask her to shed light on what a third review.
Yes, what are the reviews in this case? What are the reviews in this case? Please, Mr. Morgan, I'm the one asking. Don't shout from a sedentary position. It's uncouth. The question is,
That's what I have.
yes,
Third review of the science.
yes. And I'm asking for clarification on that point, my lord. So, Ms. Hengley, ordinarily, in your understanding of the reviews that were done, contextualize the third review in the context of the entire case. The first, second, and third review, so we know what you mean by a third review.
So the first confirmation of the DNA profiling results would be done by the analyst in the laboratory.
That's the first review.
Yes.
Yes, that's the first review of the results to determine that they have met their quality standards. That would then be checked by a second scientist.
Who checks what?
The second scientist in the DNA unit confirms and agrees the opinion of the first scientist that the DNA result conforms to their quality standards. That DNA profiling result is then released to the court-going scientist. And these are the results I have interpreted. So my interpretation of the DNA profiling results constitutes the third review of the DNA profiling results.
But when the results released to the court-going scientists,
Yes.
these are the results
That I have then reviewed. So my review constitutes a third check of the DNA profiling results.
And the second is also...
In relation to case review, this comes in with the production of a witness statement or a report. It's written by one scientist, and the second scientist reviews all the case papers to determine agreement with that report. So this relates specifically to the production of the witness statement or report. The first scientist reviews all the findings and produces the report. The second scientist, now reviewer, reviews all the scientific findings referred to. And then when I do my review, it's then a second full case review.
And the third what?
when you do yours, it is now
It's a second full case review and third check of the DNA profiling results.
When you say third review, you mean the third check on the DNA?
Yeah, so I'm the second full case review.
You're the second full case review. So what are you as third?
Sorry?
You're the second full case review. What are you as third? You're the third what then?
The third check of the DNA profiling results.
And is this based on anything? This what you've just told us, is that FSR? Is that ISO? What is it based on?
That is, because case review doesn't come under any criteria, this is a standard methodology. So the review I carry out is exactly the same as if I was instructed by the prosecution.
Okay.
It's exactly the same methodology.
Okay. Now I want to move. Ms. Hingley, you also were told that Mr. Mubiru is more qualified than you because he is an assessor, an ISO assessor for forensic science.
Yes.
I want you just to comment on what an ISO assessor for forensic science is. Just clarify to my lord.
ISO covers all disciplines in forensic science. For example, it will cover DNA interpretation, DNA profiling, toxicology, footwear, tool marks, drugs.
All disciplines.
DNA interpretation, toxicology, tool marks, footwear, drugs. And the disciplines are very, very different. So it's very important to know what particular field he's an assessor in.
You were told he's an assessor in forensic science. That's what you were told.
Yes, there's no such thing. You cannot be a general assessor of forensic science. The disciplines are too different.
You think you also asked about your own experience, and the insinuation was that for technical work in the lab, you had only 7 years experience, and therefore you are not experienced when it comes to the lab. Can you clarify to my lord about your experience in respect to the scientific processes involved in DNA profiling?
So, as I said, hands-on within the lab, processing the samples. It was from when I started at the Forensic Science Service in 1997 until I left in 2003. I was the lead DNA scientist at the new company, LGC Forensics, and I worked closely with the technical team.
LGC in full is what?
Laboratory of the Government Chemist. So although I didn't physically work in the laboratory, I was part of the team that troubleshooted when the DNA profiling results weren't as expected, and at which part of the system we needed to investigate as to where the problem was. Equally, when I worked in Oman, setting up their system, I trained them in the very final stage, which was the analysis of the DNA profiles and the checking of. So I've been involved in the process since I started in 1997.
Okay, but I want you to explain to my lord about the technical part in the lab and because you talk about working in the lab and then you talk about working as an analyst. I want you just to clarify for us so that we have a clear understanding of what it is you mean and what you are doing.
So when I was hands-on, it was working directly in the laboratory, following standard operating procedures. So the methodology needed to be the same day in and day out. So I was doing that till 2003. Then subsequent to that, I was interpreting the DNA findings in the context of the case circumstances. So I have always been involved in the review of DNA profiling results, and I do not need to be hands-on within the laboratory to be able to do that.
Maybe my last question there, just so I can get it. When you're doing hands-on work, are you therefore analyzing the samples?
Yes, so I am following set procedures in order to put the samples through the process, analytical process.
And then what do you do after that?
So after that, that's when I became a court-going scientist, where I interpret the DNA profiling results in the context of the case.
So if I'm in a lab, it's say in a hospital, and someone comes in for a DNA paternity test, I just want to understand what you're doing. Are you the one who swabs? Are you the one who runs the machines? What exactly are you doing?
So I worked purely in the DNA profiling laboratory. So I was processing the crime stains and deriving the DNA profiling results.
Okay. Now, my learned friends also asked you about the swab on the trigger and trigger house,
Yes,
which you said was a secondary swab.
yes.
My learned friend, Ms. Wakoli, asked you if DNA remains, if you've done a study to confirm that DNA remains on the trigger and trigger house, on the trigger after the first swab. Just clarify to my lord, what is the effect of that swab?
If the swabbing is taken effectively, the remaining DNA should be so low that it won't yield a useful DNA profile. And this comes from experience of having to resample areas which have already been swabbed.
So when you say, your last sentence was you shouldn't be able to do it to a DNA profile?
It wouldn't be a usable DNA profile.
What does that mean in the context of getting a result?
It may be possible to get a partial DNA profile, but the expectation is such incredibly low levels of DNA would remain that it would not be suitable for meaningful evaluation.
Okay. And so the secondary swab happened after the hand had touched the glove, right?
Yes.
After the glove had touched the trigger house.
Yes.
Now, my learned friend also asked you about fingerprints and grips.
Yes.
And she said that you cannot, the argument was that fingerprints are not appropriate because you can't lift fingerprints off the grip. In the context of this case, what are the DNA results on the grip?
There's no evidence the grip was ever sampled.
For
Sampled for DNA.
now, she also asked, yes, yes, and she confirmed. We have no information on the grip. Now, my question to you is this. You also asked about fingerprints and DNA.
Yes.
Can you confirm if, and you asked about, it's called triage of evidence. And I think we're trying to understand if you can lift both fingerprints and DNA from a weapon without one compromising the other. Could you explain if you can?
We've found through research that if the fingerprint expert enhances possible fingerprints with the technique of superglue, they are if the fingerprints are of use, they are able to recover those fingerprints. And then we are actually able to recover DNA from that area as well.
My lord, we can have a translation.
kali mazima kikagarukirwamu kandi kibahandika buli kimu kyona baba bakozere okuba kiri ekyomugaso muno halimu baitu ebimu bihandikirwe bete bikiri bingi bihandikirwe mu bihandiko ebindi ebyabangize kandi kino kyenyini akwolekya nti mazima ko kikagarukirwamu kikagarukirwamu omuhali abakozi bakoze nabo omukampuni yaabo kandi nti okusanga kyogenda kulolebwa kinahali bihandikirwe mu nkola ey'amasanyalaze kandi bihandikwa nibyo kimu okusobola hali ekintu ekyokwekubira nekyokubeera sayidi emu kandi nayoleka nti atabe nokutereeza kuona okuyatahiremu omuntu weena bulekitebe kyona okusikikira hali okusasulwa baitu kuyaho ogwo omulimu ogwa muhairwe habwa amateeka kandi kino kikusazamu ebintu byona ebizeri bigambibwa nti lundi asobola kuba yabaire mu bihandiko kye nagwera olubaju lumu kandi talina kyona ekyakumanya ekisobola kuba kyatalibaniize omulimu gwe baitu kandi omukugu alina omulimu okukonyera amateeka okwetegereza ebiba bizoirwe mu magezi gabasayansi kandi n'okuheereza ebyokubondera okurugiirira omuzoire okusobola kwika hali ekyokucwamu kandi nigwo omulimu gwa muhairwe kandi ebindi byona byatakozeseize bihandikirwe biri mu nkola ya okukolebwa hali ebyuma bikalimagezi ebyamasanyalazi baitu tibina hali bihandikirwe okuba kitakwetagisa ebisane ebyamuhaire n'ebindi ebirwajjo otunganizwa gavumenti byalo iglesire bikusisana isana befani byona bikakoleka ekintu kyo kimu ekyagamba nka okuzikasizika okubusitani byo nabyo okusobola kuba nebirora ekitali ntibyolimu kandi nti bandike babigarukirwemu abokunganyirwa byo kibiri hansi y'amateeka egino amateeka agabakubwira lundi agabalema okubirimu yaabo abakugu batunga bakora okukebera eby'obuhangwa by'omuntu nibatunga ebirugiremu omulundi ogwokubanza omuntu ondi nagarukamu nakebera ebibatungire kandi owokusatu nawe nagaruka nagaruka nasoma mu hali kyokugamba nti we owakaba nagaruka omuntu owakasatu kandi ali kino okunyora omubiro akaba niwe niwe yabanza okurora kino etaliko takalugi kandi kandi omukugu ono ekiyakozere mazimako nawe nikyo kyenyini ekiyakozere kandi ebisayo ekikyona ekigambibwa nti aliyo omukugu akusinga muno omungese eno eyabeegirozi abakugu abekaguzibwawo agwa ebyokufa emyaka yakoze emyaka 6 eyakozere nakwataniza ebintu bino ebyokebera n'emikono ye baitu hanyuma y'ekyo akabirugamu kandi hati kikumwetagisa okuba nagarukayo okusobola kuba nakora omulimu ogumuhaire baitu alina obusobozi kandi alina obukugu okusobola ebiba birugire okukebera kandi amazima genyini nti okukebera lundi obulamu buba bukozesebwe akamu konka kaba nikamalawo okuzikira mu kumanyirwako kw'emirimu akakabiri kalina kuba kataine kintu kyona olundi katakusobola kuba nikakonyera ekintu kyona.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hingley, I want us to move into the area of Euroformics calculations.
Yes.
My learned friend, if you can just project for us on the screen. My learned friend asked you about the calculations for the Euroformics on sample 19, which was the trigger and trigger house, the secondary swab of the trigger and trigger housing.
Yes. That was 31.
I don't know if we could also have P6 so that when we are, because we don't have page numbers, so that when we are referring to it, we can also just look at the page number ourselves and record it for our purposes.
21.
Okay, my lord, then court can follow. I think it's better if court has it. All we need is just the page number to be known from our perspective.
The electronic documents are 114 of 131.
No. My lord, it will be at the back of the document. I can get it for court, my lord, and then I can give it back to court. It was page 69 of the document before you, my lord. Now, my learned friend, if you go down to the calculations, hypothesis HP,
Yes.
we'll keep going down. So, my lord, that will, I think, be the next page, I believe. Yes. Which has param mle std.er mix prop C1. 9. Yes, yes. Okay, so now, my land friend told you that C1 is Henry, C2 is Mole, and C3 is Patricia.
Yes.
And she asked you if those are percentages. There are numbers just next to the percentages. I just want you to first tell my lord what those numbers are. Next to 0.386, if you can show us.
So the figure next to the percentage is the error rate of this percentage.
That will mean it's that percentage plus or minus?
Yes.
Okay. She then asked you, so to understand the contribution of each, it is minus or plus that.
I think we need to go backwards, and that it's the appreciation that this calculation cannot compensate for.
I want to come to that, Ms. Hingley.
Okay.
But I just want to understand that first. That is a percentage with an error margin, right?
Yes, if those percentages are correct, yes.
Now, you told my learned friend, we shall deal with the error margins ourselves, but you told my learned friend that you do not agree. She asked you if Mole is the highest contributor. You said yes, and you said you do not agree. Explain to my lord why you do not agree with that statistic.
So it's been progressed on the basis of 3 contributors. And in sample 19, there was an additional piece of information, but it's not clear why that wasn't carried over. So on the basis of 3, the fact that Patricia is the biological daughter of Molly, this required a second calculation to allow for robust percentages to be assigned. These figures purely relate to unrelated individuals, which we know is not the case with Patricia and Molly.
Okay? My learned friend then also referred you to calculations for the magazine, which is, I think, my lord, the one just before.
Sample 17.
Yes. My lord, maybe the page number, if we could know it. Sample 17 is the one just before 19.
Yes.
I think you have to go back 2 pages to see where it starts. I know it starts with, this is a generated report from Euroformix version 3.2.0, created by El Mutesi, and then it says data, a selected STR, selected population, evidence is 6H2Y23S017. So 017 is what we're looking at. So we just want to know the page number. Now, on this one, if you can just go to the calculation for the prosecution hypothesis.
Yes.
A learned friend for the prosecution suggested to you, again, C1, C2, and C3. Please show us on the thing there, on the screen, using your cursor. A learned friend suggested to you, in summary, that Katanga contributed 67% the magazine, the DNA in the magazine. And you, Ms. Hingley, said you do not agree with that calculation.
Yes, that calculation was run with 3 contributors, but is not reflective of the DNA profiling result.
Okay? What do we have on the DNA profiling result?
The DNA profiling result, if it was assumed that the DNA originated from Henry, Molly, and Patricia, there was clear evidence of DNA from a 4th individual.
And can you show us that? Can you show us this 4th individual?
So this is on page 20 of my witness statement.
Why don't we use the EPGs?
These are the 2 clear areas of 4 people.
So just show us what you mean.
So when we review the DNA profiling result, we evaluate the number of pieces of information. And although only 4 pieces of information have been designated, therefore at least 2 people, when you revisit the results with the assumption of Henry, Molly, and Patricia contributing, the areas circled do not belong to any of them, and therefore there must be a 4th contributor to this result.
And when we look at Euroformics again, what do we get from Euroformics in that regard?
So in this sample,
Yes.
the analyst has put in that the number of contributors is 3.
Okay. And what has the software told the analyst?
When the system has been run, the system has actually told the analyst that it has failed to resolve 7 times. So that should have been an indication that something was wrong.
So my lord, that's the page we want. The page which has the 7 failures. Under model validation. My lord, if I can. Page 67. Take the cursor where it says fails.
Sorry?
Take the cursor to the place where it says
Oh,
fails.
sorry, here. So under model validation, under HP, it's failed 7 times. So that's indicating that the proposition put forward by the analyst that 3 contributors is not correct.
What does HP mean?
So these are the propositions we know.
So what does the proposition HP mean, if just in full?
So HP is the prosecution hypothesis.
Okay, you can stop there. Now, while still looking at number 17, what's the effect of the system failure?
That means that the system itself cannot resolve into a result because the findings do not support the information it's been provided, that 3 contributors. So that immediately should alert the analyst that something is wrong.
Now, Ms. Hingley, my learned friend took you to the profile itself of 17.
Yes.
And she said that you have only highlighted two areas
Yes.
where there is a problem, and that did you look at all the 23 areas? I want you to go to the Euroformics profile itself for sample 17, which is an exhibit D5. Exhibit D5.
Yes.
Sample 17, which is the magazine. And my land friend says, I don't know if is that sample 17?
No, that was 15. I'm nearly there. This is the EPG from 17.
What page is that on the?
That's page 34.
If you go up a bit, I think we can see the page. Page 30. The written up page is page what?
It looks.
Of 30.
30
we can have DE5.
or 36.
DE5. There with us, missing it. But we have it. And I think it's page 36. No, page 38. 38. Can we proceed? 38. Is it this one? Let's see that. That's DE what? DE5. DE5 is what they've been using to cross-examine her. Yeah, throughout. It's the main document for the cross-examination. DE6 and DE5. My lord, could we just use that and what's on the screen? We have our copies. Ours was page 38. Is that page 38? I have page 38. Okay, anyway, my lord we will seek the one from court. But do you have D5 on court record? D5. Where is it? The main thing we've been using for this cross-examination. Yes. Yes. Exactly the only main document. Maybe, my lord, with the permission, I will proceed and we shall come back and correct the pages. But from the Euroformics that was given to you from Defense Exhibit 5, what's the next page? Let's see the next page first. You just go up once to the page number. Yeah, that's 39.
Yes.
So, my lord, 38. So the reform is given to you at page 38. If you go, my learned friend's question to you was, you've identified DNA belonging to someone else in just 2 out of 23 areas. First of all, show us those 2 areas on the Euroformix itself.
So these are the EPGs. The 2 clear areas were FGA, that 25 there could not have been any of the nominated individuals. And the second area is D12 here, the 17 and the 18. So at D12, 17 and 18 could not have come from any of the nominated individuals.
Now, my land friend told you, fine, but that's just in 2 areas. You looked at 23 areas. Can you clarify, first of all, looking at the 23 areas, if she's right that you can only see the nominated individuals?
There's a lot of information that is...
Start from the top.
So from the top, we're unfortunately suffering from the same as with the extraction negative, where the panel has been sized to this very large artifact. So I cannot interrogate any of these areas at all.
Tell us for the record, what is the panel sizing? It is 0 to what?
This panel size is 0 with the midpoint of 16,000. So approximately 30, that'd be 24 and then 32,000.
32,000. And the next panel is from 0 to?
The next panel, the midpoint is 1,000. So 0 to 2,000.
Okay, so for the first panel, what information can you get about the areas?
The only information I can gain is the designations associated. I cannot see the peak morphology or if there is any other information which has not been labelled by the police laboratory.
Or if there is what?
Any other information which has not been labelled by the police laboratory.
Okay, now using the rest of the information, do you agree with my learned friend that, okay, that's about 6 areas of DNA, fine, there are 6 areas that you can't see anything, there are 2 areas which you are contesting. How many areas are those where you can't see anything?
So the first panel covers 5 areas of DNA, which I cannot interrogate.
Okay.
Then we move down, and even in the areas where I have highlighted, there is other information present, but the fact that it's not being designated, and therefore I cannot determine the size pretty much throughout the profile.
So there's extra information pretty much throughout the profile. Just demonstrate to my lord where we can see extra information.
So if we look at the FGA, where the 25 is clearly the 4th person, if we start at what's been labelled as 22, there's clearly DNA coming through before.
Yes. And what's the height of that DNA?
I can't, this here would be 400, but I can't. I assume that that's less than 300. I've no means of confirming.
Okay.
And then again, after the 23, there's clearly another piece of DNA coming through. And even after the 27, there's potential DNA here. So there's a lot of DNA within this result which has not been recorded by the police laboratory.
Okay. So now I want you to summarize your points there on looking at this profile. My learned friend says, fine, all that aside, isn't Mole still the highest contributor of DNA on the magazine?
It's not possible to determine. You can see that the 25, which is the fourth contributor, is a significant amount of information. So there's no way from this DNA EPG to demonstrate that Mrs. Katanga has contributed such a significant amount of DNA.
Okay. I want us to move to another area. Now, amazingly, a lot of time was spent, and I want to be very brief, on what was called the allelic ladder.
Yes.
And you were told that you said sample 23 is the allelic ladder, and maybe you can show it to us. Now, what page is that?
That is page 50.
Page 50 of D5. Now, my learned friend suggested to you that there is such a thing as a multi-person mixture of relatives.
Yes.
Not of relatives, a multi-person mixture of biological, in the house, in the context of a house, there's such a thing she called a multi-person mixture. And that a multi-person mixture is not necessarily allelic ladder contamination. And that allelic ladder contamination has a specific pattern.
Yes, it does.
I want you to clarify why, and you said you agreed with all that, but you insisted that this sample was not a multi-person mixture,
Yes.
but was ladder contamination.
Yes,
I want you to
absolutely.
clarify to my lord why.
This has the characteristic definition of a ladder. The ladder being a combination of all the most common pieces of information in a population. And as you can see here at D19, within this ladder, there's very common pieces of DNA and rare pieces of DNA. To observe pieces of DNA, the entire range of an area is highly unusual.
So what do you mean by the entire range?
So if you look, there are red triangles.
Okay.
So the red triangle here to here denotes the entire region that is accepted as D19.
Okay, and what's there?
You have approximately 18 pieces of information.
18 pieces of information. Do you have it throughout the profile, that sort of thing?
Yes, the characteristic ladder is throughout the profile, other than the first panel again, because I cannot interrogate it due to the sizing of the first panel.
And the first panel is sized at what?
8,000, midpoint to 0 to 16,000 approximately.
Now, the second panel is sized at what?
The midpoint is 600, so approximately 0 to 1,200.
Okay. And the third panel?
The third panel being 340, the midpoint, so approximately 0 to 680.
Now, Miss Hingley, using the third panel, do you see any peaks above 300 that are not called?
Obviously, I cannot confirm because I didn't have access to the raw data, but it does appear in D19 before the 12. This peak here does have the appearance of being above 300. So this causes me concern that it's not uniform, that any peak above 300 is being designated.
Now, what result does the analyst give this ladder?
This sample was evaluated as a two-person mixture. It was run through Euroformics as such.
Can we go and see it in Euroformics?
Yes.
My Lord, for prosecution exhibit 5. My Lord, my learned friend in cross-examination said that this is a multi-person mixture as opposed to allelic ladder contamination. And I want, we are clarifying. Multi-person mixture. She called it a multi-person mixture and not allelic ladder contamination.
I can't split my screen, sorry. So yes, this is the Euroformics for this sample.
How many fails?
Well, in this instance, you can see that the analyst has told the system you're looking at two contributors. And they were looking at whether Henry and Molly were a contributor. And in this instance, it failed 46 times, which is immediately the two contributors was wrong. Yet this was reported as two unknown individuals.
Lord, I don't know if we're together. The multi-person mixture. I think, my Lord, if we look at where she talked about, it should have peak heights that are a distinctive pattern, from the part of distinctive pattern. Yes. Yeah. Yes. That's what we are clarifying. Whether this sample is that. And now you are telling us, Miss Hingley, My lord, the witness is clarifying. The witness was asked if the ethnic ladder has a specific pattern or if it is multiple contribute. Yes, if it has peak heights at a certain location, to which she said no. She was then asked if there's a distinction between multiple person and allelic ladder contamination, and she clearly said there's a distinction, and she said the thing has a distinct pattern, and the point my learned friend is putting to her was that there was no ladder contamination. Unless my learned friend is conceding that there's ladder contamination. Otherwise, I need to clarify whether or not there's ladder contamination. That's what I'm clarifying. And she was allowed to explain. Yes. 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 And that's what I'm clarifying, my lord. I'm clarifying that.
Whether the uniform
Yes. No, no, I'm establishing because the point my land friend was making is that there is no ladder contamination in this case. I am establishing that dead certain there is ladder contamination. I'm seeking clarification. Thank you, my lord. That's the disagreement. And I am asking why do you disagree? And I'm asking you to look at all the information that was given to you. Much obliged, my lord. Which is both this and the Euroformics.
So the EPG is showing characteristic ladder contamination. In my opinion, it's very concerning that this has gone through at least 2 checks as a 2-person mixture. It's clearly ladder. And even when it's been designated as a 2-person mixture, you can clearly see at D2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of information have been called. So the mixture interpretation's wrong. It's clearly ladder. So here, so if it's a 2-person mixture, you have a maximum of 4 pieces of information. Notwithstanding that the threshold is very questionable, accepting that only those peaks above 300 have been designated, the laboratory themselves have designated 5 pieces of information at the area of D2. Therefore, this cannot be a 2-person mixture. They have ignored a significant amount of information that is clearly visible in the areas. There is no doubt that this is ladder contamination.
And when you use Euroformics, what does it tell you?
So then it was put through Euroformics. As a 2-person mixture. So I'll move it up to show. So the analyst had told the system it's a 2-person mixture and that they were looking for contributions from Henry and Molly. And in this instance, the system failed 46 times, which is a clear indication that the interpretation is wrong and they need to reevaluate that result.
Show us where. My lord, we also need a page for our own. Maybe I can. Euroformics. No. Yes, the Euroformics is in P6.
This sample's near the end because it wasn't evidential, so look near the end.
Sure. I know how to find it. DW4 85. Okay, Ms. Hingley, I want us to move. My lord, I hope we're together. You had said under it failed how many times?
Under HP 46 times.
You put the cursor there.
So here, this is a clear indication that the propositions were inappropriate for the DNA information.
Okay. Now, Ms. Hingley, my learned friend then suggested to you, citing a number of EPGs, a number of electropherograms that are contained in Defense Exhibit 5. My learned friend suggested to you that a number of those, and I don't want to go through them one by one, but she mentioned a number, that were in the same batch as the cartridge casing.
Yes.
Do not have any sign of first there was contamination and subsequently allelic ladder contamination. Now, the import was clear that that contamination is limited to that cartridge since we do not see it in other samples.
My lord, you can't testify.
Okay, my learned friend put to you a number of samples. I'm not testifying, it was a question. But anyway, I can rephrase it. But my lord, I wasn't testifying. The question is, according to my learned friend, even if this were to be ladder contamination, she put to you a number of samples and asked you if those samples that were in the same batch reflected the same ladder. And you said in each case that they don't. Yet in your evidence in chief, you said that the ladder affects the entire batch. Clarify to my lord the effect of the ladder on the entire batch of samples.
So the very first thing that should happen within a laboratory where clear contamination has occurred is that they must investigate where that contamination has happened and how. If when they resample, they put it back through the system, so there's a separation process. If through that process it comes back clear, and it would be strongly advisable that the entire batch go back through that process. If upon their investigation, they find that the ladder has come into the samples at the copying, the amplification stage, this is very serious contamination, and in effect, the laboratory must stop processing any samples until they can deem their laboratory clean.
What do you mean?
Literally no samples should be processed along there in that laboratory at all until they can demonstrate that their process is clean.
You mean it should be closed?
Not process any samples whatsoever.
Okay. Is this specific to allelic ladder contamination?
Yes, because the laboratory should be set up in what we term positive airflow, meaning nothing that has been copied is able to go back into the process. The allelic ladder only comes into the process at the very end, the separation stage. There should be no reason whatsoever that you are picking up ladder in your amplification stage. If you are, it means your DNA is going in reverse and is able to then contaminate an earlier stage. If that is shown and the ladder contains every possible piece of information we know, then you have absolutely no idea whether your result from your sample is from the sample and not contamination. Hence, the lab would cease. They must demonstrate that their airflow is robust and that their laboratory is clean.
Now, Ms. Hingley, my learned friend asked you about two other samples apart from 22-1, which was, I think, 24, and another one where you said there was ladder.
Yes.
Were they all in the same batch?
No, this is a different batch.
So every batch in this case had allelic ladder contamination?
Certainly 2 batches, yes.
Okay.
So this is the second. This is one of the walking sticks. Again, absolutely characteristic of ladder.
What page is that on the E5?
That is sample 29. And then again, sample 30, starting on page 66. Oh, sorry, that's 29. And again, both these samples should never be confused with multi-person mixtures. They are clearly ladder, clear contamination.
Show us, show us.
So here's sample 30. You would never get a distribution like this in a multi-person mixture. The most common alleles and that are put through and regularly seen are generally centralized. This is absolutely characteristic ladder.
Okay. Looking at that, just there, the panel on 30. How many? What is this? What is its height? What's the height?
So this is sized with 200 at the midpoint, between 0 and 400.
Okay. Okay, and so you see ladder there.
Yes, clear ladder.
Show us.
So here, this area's very, very clearly ladder.
Okay, now I'm about to wind up. My learned friend then suggested to you. My Lord, I hope we can move. My learned friend suggested to you that in order to see contamination, you have to go to what she called the quantification data. Put it up. And she took you to it.
Yes.
Please kindly put it up. I think it's still within that document.
Yes, it is. You're right.
And it was, she took you specifically, if I recall, the particular quant at page
56.
56, yes. I think actually, if we start from 55, she took you to 55, 56, yes, and 57.
Yes.
And she said, in her questions to you, that she referred you to a number of samples and said that, so if I can, let me quote her properly. What I had recorded is she said that using samples at page 55 and 56 of DE5, that the male will give you an X and Y chromosome because only a male can give you a Y. And then you responded and said yes, because the female that Y would be 0. She then referred you to a number of samples, starting with Molle's reference sample, which she asked you to read the quantification data.
Yes.
And her argument seemed to have, and she argued, she put it to you actually, that as long as you don't see contamination in the quant, then there is no contamination at all. First of all, you disagreed with that.
It's not possible with crime stains to determine from the quant whether there's contamination or not, because you do not know what you're expecting. The only signs the quant data will aid are the negative, because we know that's supposed to be blank. And equally, we can use the reference DNA samples of known individuals because we know whether they're male or female.
Now, my learned friend sent you to the sample S004
Yes.
of Mole Katanga.
Yes.
I want you to clarify, does that show there's no contamination?
So this sample, as expected, has a
highlight it.
So here, oh, it won't let me because it's not a searchable. So I'm looking at well D1 on sample 004 on the small autosomal, you can see that the figure of 4284, and that's as expected, a very high level of female DNA. However, if you look below this, the Y, which can only be male, is indicating that there is male DNA in this sample.
So there was a man in Mole Katanga.
Yes, the analytical work is demonstrating that male DNA has been detected in a sample from Molly.
And that shows what?
That's an indication that there could be contamination in that sample.
What about Patricia?
Again, for Patricia, a very high level of female, of total DNA, as you would expect. And again, there's a figure measuring, indicating that male DNA is present.
I want you to read for my Lord the figure of male DNA for Mole, the figure for male DNA for Patricia.
So for Molly here, on sample 004, the male has been registered as 0.005093. And for Patricia, it's 0.006823.
So there's also a man in Patricia.
Yes, both. And the critical thing here is that the amount of male recorded is far, far lower than the total. And therefore, the EPG, you could never visualize the contribution of the male because the female will completely swamp it in relation to the EPG. So the quantification is showing there's possible contamination, but the EPG, you could never visualize it.
Sample 6 was Denise, a woman as well. Does that woman have some man?
So
I withdraw the question, my Lord. I withdraw the question. It didn't arise indeed. I will move. But
My Lord, the question did not only arise.
it didn't arise. I'm moving.
It is an indication of a poor understanding.
Don't testify. You'll submit. You don't testify. Don't testify. Don't testify. Don't testify. My Lord, I want to move on to the next area. Yes, much obliged. Much obliged.
He has already vandalized the report. I don't know, maybe for Natif.
My Lord, let me continue.
Otherwise, my Lord.
My Lord is chasing headlines. My Lord, please prevail. My Lord, please prevail.
Speaking is wrong and insists on.
My Lord, I'm just asking questions. And the question he has objected to, I have withdrawn. I'm not giving evidence here. Now, Miss Hingley, this is my final area. And this final area, my learned friend took you at length to what she called the negative control. And I want you to go, this is my second final area. I want you to go to the negative control in the EPG, which was at page 53, I believe, of Defense Exhibit 5.
yes.
I'm going to interrogate every single point my learned friend made about this. And I'm going to do it quickly, but briefly. First of all, my learned friend took you through all the panels.
Yes.
And asked you if you saw any allele call above 300.
Yes.
And she then told you, and you said you didn't, but you said 300 is too high and has no scientific basis.
Yes.
She asked you simply, just do you see any above 300? You said you disagree with 300 as a threshold. Can you explain to my Lord why you disagree with a threshold of 300?
So as I previously was explaining, the laboratories have two thresholds. The first threshold is that of the baseline. So this is noise created during the analytical process. And if we look here in the red section, the baseline is literally this very noisy, jagged line that runs across. That is baseline. The reason why we have the baseline threshold is that in order to designate any DNA, the information must be clear, distinct from baseline, and have good morphology. You can clearly see here that the baseline is around a maximum of 25. This is an analytical system that is working very, very well. And therefore, visually, there is absolutely no chance that the information in this panel could be misinterpreted as baseline.
So you're saying the bottom is the baseline and then the peaks are what?
They are pieces of DNA. And there is no scientific grounds for misinterpreting this information as being part of the baseline. It again shows very limited knowledge of the DNA profiling process.
Now, my learned friend put it to you. And she confirmed actually from you that having watched Mr. Mubiru's evidence, you confirm that he said the baseline was 300.
I understand the threshold was 300.
Yes, she put it to you that the threshold was 300, and you understood this, you said, based on having listened to his evidence. Apart from that evidence, clarify if there's any documentation we have on that threshold, on the detection threshold.
So in this respect, we need to go back to Euroformics. And it doesn't matter which sample, they've all been set at the same. So this is the sample we've just been looking at with the ladder contamination. If you look at the printout here, model options.
Maybe let's look at a sample, the first sample in Euroformics, so we know the page number. It might not on DE5.
Sample 19.
No, sample, I think 7. I need the page from the code, that's right. So where the Euroformics starts from exactly. Annex 4, under Annex 4. After Annex 4, the next page. Yes, yours will be there.
So here, is this right? No?
No, yours is missing a page. I'll go to the next.
If you start from sample 14.
Okay, sample 14. I don't know, maybe I can help to find it. No, that's D5, that's P6. You're at sample 14.
Yes.
Okay, so you are telling us?
So irrespective of the sample, the Euroformics settings have been the same throughout.
Okay.
So if we look to model options, you can see a label detection threshold.
And what is the detection threshold according to Euroformics?
So this is from which point Euroformics will consider a piece of information, DNA, and utilize it in the statistical evaluation.
So what is the threshold? What's the number?
So the threshold that the analyst has inputted, this is not a default setting for Euroformics, is 70.
70 is that, and what's the default setting for Euroformics?
The default setting is 50.
50.
So this has been changed by someone within the police laboratory.
So this is the police laboratory's threshold.
I cannot comment on that, but someone within the police laboratory has set the analytical threshold at 70.
So now, Ms. Hingley, apart from Mr. Mubiru's oral testimony that it is 300, the question I put to you was, do the documents bear this out?
No, and I requested documentation of their validation to demonstrate their thresholds.
And the document shows what?
I have no documentation at all, it wasn't provided.
What does Euroformics show?
So I now have documentation which shows that the analytical threshold input into Euroformics is 70, which directly contradicts the threshold I'm led to believe of 300.
So now, Ms. Hingley, if whatever the detection threshold is, 300 or 70 or 50, the question was put to you, and I want to ask you to clarify. Did the negative control perform as expected?
I go back to the EPG. You can see if we actually consider what would be a reasonable baseline of even 70 at D21, clearly these two pieces of information are above that threshold, and no, it's demonstrating this is a contaminated negative.
Show us.
This area here is the clearest, so even at 70, which is still high for a baseline threshold.
Do we now understand her mean that her appreciation that the baseline was 70, notwithstanding the fact that consistently said she did not have documents?
No.
So we need to be sure.
My lord, let me clarify for my colleague, because my lord, my colleague is just, my colleague is, you can't seek the clarification from her, you finished. You can only object to my question. My lord, am I not right? You can't ask her questions.
No,
Or 70. Yes.
From what she is saying, my lord, now, we understand her to mean that her appreciation of the reforms is that the baseline is 70.
So let me ask you that question. Let me ask you that question, my lord. Because, my lord, the proper process is I should be the one asking questions. So the question is it your proper understanding, that the detection threshold or the baseline is 70 based on the Euroformics?
The 70, which is incorporated into Euroformics, is not the default figure, and so someone in the police laboratory would have had to have put in the 70. Now, whether this is their threshold or not, I can't confirm.
What's the default figure?
How does it fit in with the 300?
That's the question.
No, she has actually answered it properly.
No, Mr. Mwaganya doesn't have to provide commentary, my lord. Let's deal with the witness. Ms. Hingley, the question we are asking you, explain to us. You're talking about the normal in Euroformics is what you've just said. What is detection threshold in Euroformics? How does the detection threshold in Euroformics affect this detection threshold here? What was the detection threshold of the Uganda police based on the documents that you have? Give us and please try and break it down in very so that we can all understand.
So from the Euroformics, you can see that the threshold that the police themselves have put in is 70. This is obviously in complete contradiction to the 300 I understood to be the case. If the detection threshold is actually 70, then it clearly shows that the negative control was contaminated and did not pass.
Okay. And if the detection threshold is 300, what does it show?
On the assumption that only pieces of information above 300 are given a designation, then that negative control is clear. So the lowering of the threshold to 70 is highly significant in the interpretation of the negative control.
That's the point I want you to come to. When you look at the baselines, because she asked you base by base by base, do you have any above 70?
Yes, this area here, these
No,
two.
I don't mean the results. I mean the panel. If you look at the panel from 0, would I be correct to suggest? Yes, 0. My land friend asked you to go through that to see those panels. What information do we get from that?
So in the green, the panel, clearly, these two pieces of information would be designated. I can't confirm these, they would be close. This top panel, I have no idea because I can't see anything because of the way it's been sized.
Okay, so my final question on
Are we seeing different thresholds?
So where the DNA is separated, this is the visualization stage, and it's in the computer software. The computer software default in producing the electropherograms is that it sizes from the highest peak. So as is common throughout this, the EPGs, we have this very strong piece of information on the far right, which is outside of any of the regions we're interested in. This is not a piece of DNA. This is not associated with the negative. And therefore, the analyst should know that they need to lower the panel here to actually visualize what was in this sample. This is misleading, and because of the information, as you can see from the other panels, is low, as we'd expect, by putting this panel at over 2,000 is misleading that it's empty, because I would assume, given the results in the other panels, there is a lot of information in here, but you just can't visualize it because of the default settings of the system alone. It's nothing scientific, and the analyst should know that that needs to be amended.
Thank you. I want you just to go finally on that point of the negative control, just for the purpose of clarity. You said it's 300, and I don't know if I'd asked this question. Any documents that support the 300?
No, I've not been provided with any.
And are there documents that support another threshold?
Yes, the Euroform mix is indicating a 70.
Now, my learned friend cited a paper by Professor Peter Gill. She didn't give us the paper, nor did she read its citation, unless I'm correct. She just dropped the name Professor Peter Gill. Huh? And she said that according to that unnamed paper, contamination and negative control is limited to the single test tube that has the negative control, and that therefore it's something that can be ignored. She put that to you. Do you agree with that?
No. A negative control demonstrates that there is contamination within your process. Unless you rework that negative control and investigate where that contamination occurred, you have no idea what part of your process is contaminated. So in this instance, as the bare minimum, the negative control should have been sent back for the reamplification, so the copying stage. If it comes back clear then the contamination has happened at that stage. If after reamplification you are still getting information in your negative, it can only have occurred at the very beginning of the system, the extraction. This, in my contamination, you have at least 2 people in this sample. The laboratory must try and source that DNA. Is it a scene goer? Is it a member of the laboratory? And depending on that, it could mean that the entire batch the results are so unreliable that you have to go back to the exhibits and resample.
My lord, can I move? Ms. Hingley, you were then taken through, you were also taken through a number of comments you had made about contamination, the gloved hand touching the gun, the bag, the pistol on the floor, a lack of documentation from station to lab, and you were accused of mere wild speculation because you didn't have information as to whether these anti-contamination procedures were followed or not. Can you explain whether you were engaging in wild speculation?
No. We know how easy it is to contaminate, to transfer DNA. And in every instance I've highlighted, it's extremely poor laboratory practice, scene practice, and it therefore allows for a significant risk of contamination through the processing that's occurred.
My learned friend, sorry. I want to combine two points that were taken to you into one question. Both of my learned friend, Ms. Wakoli, put it to you that Mole cannot be excluded as a contributor on the barrel, the magazine, and the trigger. While my learned friend asked you if she can be removed as the shooter, my learned friend, Mr. Morgan. My question to you, what are the significance of those particular findings?
In my opinion, when I very first had the case context, my expectation was that DNA from Molly and Henry, and likely Patricia, were going to be obtained irrespective of what's happened. Therefore, the presence of DNA from Molly, Henry, and Patricia is totally expected, and it's reasonable to assume that their DNA is present.
Does that mean one of them?
No, the DNA result itself does not help address in any way who fired that gun.
Finally, Ms. Hingley, my learned friend said to you that your report is based on a bunch of assumptions. Can you tell this court what assumptions your report is based on? Or can you clarify whether your report is based on a bunch of assumptions? What's the assumption?
Always have assumptions. We never know exactly what's happened. However, they must be robust and scientifically able for challenge. In my final evaluation, even though I've highlighted significant risks to the integrity of any result obtained from the crime scene to the laboratory, through the laboratory, and then subsequent evaluation, irrespective of all of that, my final opinion is that everything is perfect, the DNA results stand, and the DNA does not help to address who fired that gun.
And now my last question, having watched the evidence of PWA, do you disagree with him on that point? Having watched the evidence of PWA, do you disagree with him on that point?
And
The one she has just made. Okay, let me ask it like that. As far as we are concerned, PW8's evidence was only to source level as opposed to activity level. Do you agree with him on that point?
No, I believe one of the last questions he was asked, does the DNA help to address who fired that gun? And he said no.
So do you agree with him?
Absolutely, the DNA does not help to address anything in this case at all.
My Lord, I am done with this witness. Miss Hingley, thank you very much.
My Lord, we will be ready. If the court is ready, call our next witness. I think Ms. Samari wants me to say at 3. After lunch, we can do it at 4, but we will proceed for 1 hour. So, my Lord, it is helpful, and then we adjourn. So it's helpful. We start with our next witness tomorrow in the morning, yeah. Because now it's 2:30. If we take a 1 hour's break, we'll be here at 3:30 and then 4. So, but for us, we are ready. But let's do in the morning. And Ms. Hungry, thank you so much.
No. Are they calling a fresh witness? They are completing.
Yes, my Lord. My Lord, we failed. I can address what my colleague is. We failed to get doctor for tomorrow. It's a Tuesday. Tuesday is normally he has 3 days of surgery, so he has Thursday afternoon or something. So tomorrow we can't waste it. So let's call another witness, a fresh witness. Whenever he's available, fortunately he's in the country, we will call him to complete what he has left with. So he's a fresh witness. Much obliged, my Lord. My Lord, maybe for your guidance, now that today you can see what we did, can we maintain 9 instead of 10? So that, my Lord, we normally do much when, so 9, yeah. For us, we are not in a hurry with that ruling. Whenever you deliver it, we will record that witness when you allow us. It's okay. Much obliged. Whichever